Welcome, I'm Grace. Tonight the world stays outside, and you stay here in this peaceful sanctuary I've created just for you. If you're ready, let our journey begin. The world outside has vanished behind a curtain of silver and iron, replaced by a storm that howls through the narrow cobblestone streets. You pull your heavy coat tighter around your chest, feeling the bite of the wind and the cold stinging spray of the rain against your skin. Your boots click rapidly against the wet stones, a sharp, urgent sound that is soon swallowed by the roar of the gale. But then, you reach the great arched entrance of the Midnight Library. Its doors are made of dark, ancient oak, reinforced with black and iron scrolls that look like frozen vines. You reach for the heavy brass ring. It is freezing to the touch, and with a concentrated effort, you pull. The hinges give a long, low groan, a sound that speaks of centuries of silence being disturbed. As you slip inside and push the door shut, the transition is instantaneous. The roar of the storm is cut off mid-note, replaced by a silence so thick and heavy it feels like a physical presence. Thud. The door meets the frame with a final, echoing boom, and you are safe. You stand in the grand foyer for a moment, your breath coming in short. White clouds that slowly dissipate in the still air. The temperature here is controlled, cool enough to preserve the parchment but warm enough to soothe your shivering limbs. You begin to unwrap your damp scarf, feeling the texture of the wool beneath your fingers. An ear hits your neck with a gentle, refreshing touch. You can smell it now, the unmistakable fragrance of the library. It is a complex, intoxicating blend of dry paper, aged leather bindings, full wax, and a faint, metallic hint of old ink. It is the smell of time itself, settled and quiet. Your eyes adjust to the dim, amber light provided by the flickering gas lamps mounted on the stone walls. The shadows are long and soft, stretching across the checkered marble floor like ink spilled on a page. You take your first steps forward, and the sound of your movements is immediately muffled by a long, deep pile runner of crimson velvet that stretches into the darkness of the main hall. It is like walking on a cloud, every vibration of your body absorbed by the ancient fabric. Ahead of you, the library opens up into a vast, cathedral-like space. The shelves rise up like canyon walls, disappearing into the gloom of the high, vaulted ceiling. Thousands upon thousands of books stand in silent ranks, their spines a tapestry of faded gold, forest green, and deep burgundy. You feel small in the presence of so much knowledge, but it is not an intimidating feeling. It is a sense of profound protection, as if the books themselves are guardians watching over your rest. You reach out a hand as you walk, letting your fingertips brush against the leather spines. Each one feels different. Some are smooth and cool. Others are rough and textured with the grain of the hide. Some feel thin and fragile, as if the words inside were barely holding the paper together. There is a faint, rhythmic hum in the air, the sound of the building breathing. Or perhaps it is just the distant memory of the wind vibrating against the thick stone walls. You find the central desk, a massive slab of polished mahogany that glows softly in the candlelight. Sitting on its surface is a small, silver bell and a stack of yellowed parchment. You don't touch them, instead choosing to look up at the grand staircase that spirals toward the galleries above. The air is so still that you can hear the faint crackling sound of a single candle burning in a glass hurricane's lamp nearby. Crackle. Pop. The flame dances, casting a warm, orange light over your hands. You realize that you are the only one here, the sole witness to this midnight sanctuary. The outside world, with all its noise, its demands, and its restless energy, feels like a dream you had a long time ago. Here, in the heart of the library, there is only the scent of the books, the softness of the light, and the deep, unwavering peace of the night. You take a long, slow breath, feeling your lungs fill with the dry, ancient air, and you feel your heartbeat begin to slow down, matching the steady, quiet pulse of the room. You are ready to explore further, to find the hidden corners where the oldest stories sleep. You pick up a small brass lantern from the desk, its weight solid and reassuring in your palm, and as you turn the wick, the light blooms, carving a path for you through the velvet shadows. Your journey into the silence has truly begun. The brass lantern in your hand feels solid and heavy, its cool metal handle warming slowly against your palm as the small flame inside dances against the glass. You lift it slightly higher, and the circle of golden light cuts through the velvet darkness of the main hall, illuminating the intricate carvings of the mahogany shelves that stretch toward the heavens. You begin to walk, your footsteps completely swallowed by the thick, crimson-patterned rugs that line the aisles. It is a strange and beautiful sensation, moving through a space so vast and yet feeling as though you are being held in a private, silent cocoon. As you move deeper into the heart of the library, the air becomes even drier, carrying the concentrated essence of millions of pages. It is a scent that feels like a physical history, a mixture of crushed linen, dried glue, and the faint, sweet musk of organic decay turned into something noble. You pass the philosophy section, where the spines are thick and austere, then the poetry shelves, where the books are slender and delicate, their gilded titles flickering in your lantern light like dying stars. Unid, Paradiso, the wasteland. The names feel like whispered incantations as you pass them by. You reach the base of the great spiral staircase, an architectural marvel of cast iron and dark walnut that winds its way up into the shadows of the upper galleries. You place your hand on the railing, feeling the smoothness of the wood, polished by the touch of countless scholars and dreamers who came before you. You begin to climb, slowly, rhythmically. Creak, creak. The wood gives a low, musical groan under your weight, a sound that echoes softly in the empty dome above. With every step, you feel yourself moving further away from the ground, away from the world of gravity and mud, and closer to the world of thought and starlight. The higher you go, the more the sound of the rain outside changes. Downstairs, it was a dull thrum against the stone walls. But here, near the high arched windows and the leaded glass dome, it is a sharp, crystalline clatter. Thousands of droplets are striking the glass just inches away from you, creating a frantic, liquid percussion that only highlights the absolute stillness of the interior. You pause on the landing of the third floor, looking out through a small circular window. The world outside is a blurred smear of charcoal and silver, trees bending under the weight of the wind like giants in pain. But in here, not a single page flutters. Not a single dust mote is disturbed by the gale. You continue your ascent toward the highest gallery, the Gallery of Lost Scripts, where the air is thin and smells of ancient honey. This is the part of the library that few people visit, a place where the light of the gas lamps doesn't quite reach, and only your lantern creates a flickering path. The ceiling here is painted with fading constellations, celestial maps of a sky that perhaps no longer exists. You walk along the narrow balcony, looking down over the railing into the abyss of the main hall. The floor below looks like a chessboard for giants, the shadows and light creating a dizzying, beautiful pattern of order and chaos. You find what you were looking for, a hidden alcove tucked away in the furthest corner of the gallery. It is a small, semi-regular space lined with books that have no titles on their spines, only mysterious symbols pressed into the leather. In the center of the alcove sits a heavy, high-backed armchair upholstered in faded emerald velvet. Its cushions look deep and inviting, as if they were designed to swallow a person's worries whole. Beside the chair is a small stone hearth, where a few embers are still glowing a dull, pulsating red, casting a faint warmth into the small space. You place your lantern on the low side table, its light reflecting in the polished surface of a nearby globe. You take a deep breath. The air here is cooler, more silent, as if the words in these particular books are too old to even be whispered. You feel a profound sense of arrival, as if this tiny corner of the vast library was waiting specifically for you to find it. You begin to remove your coat, the heavy wool feeling like a burden you are finally ready to shed. You drape it over the arm of the chair, noting how the green velvet catches the lantern light. You sit down, and the chair gives a slow, welcoming sigh as it takes your weight. You are perfectly positioned now, protected by the stone walls, surrounded by the wisdom of the ages, and watched over by the flickering flame of your lantern. The rain continues its dance on the roof far above, but it feels like a distant memory, a soundtrack to a life you have left behind for the night. You reach out and touch the nearest book on the shelf, feeling the coldness of the leather and the promise of the secrets hidden within its pages. The silence is no longer empty. It is full of stories waiting to be heard, and you are finally ready to listen. The emerald velvet of the armchair feels like a cool, soft embrace against your back, a contrast to the icy wind you left behind in the streets. You reach forward, your fingers finding the small iron poker resting by the stone hearth. The metal is cold and heavy, but as you stir the dying embers, a small, bright orange spark leaps into the air, dancing for a fleeting second before vanishing into the soot. You add a few pieces of each cedar wood from the copper bucket nearby, hearing the dry bark scrape against the stone. Click. Thud. Within moments, the fire catches, a low, hungry blue flame licking the wood until it erupts into a warm, golden glow. The sound of the fire is a rhythmic masterpiece. Pop, crackle, hiss. It provides a living, breathing soundtrack to the library's stillness. The scent of burning cedar begins to rise, sharp and sweet, mixing with the dusty perfume of the ancient books to create an aroma that feels like safety itself. You lean back, watching the shadows of the flames flicker and stretch across the ceiling, making the painted constellations above look as though they are slowly drifting through a dark sea. The warmth begins to reach your feet, then your knees, seeping through your clothes and loosening the tension in your shoulders that you didn't even know you were carrying. Your eyes wander to the side table, where the lantern light reflects in the glass of a small silver inkwell. Beside it lies the book you pulled from the shelf earlier. Its cover deep, midnight blue leather with no title. Only a single, embossed golden key in the center. You reach for it, the weight of the book surprising you. It is heavy, solid, as if the words inside have a physical mass. You run your thumb over the golden key, feeling the slight indentation in the leather. And then, with a slow, deliberate motion, you open the cover. Creak. The binding gives a long, satisfied groan, a sound that hasn't been heard in this alcove for decades. The first page is thick, cream-colored parchment, its edges slightly frayed and yellowed by the passage of time. As you turn the page, the sound of the paper is like a dry whisper. Shin. Rustle. It is the most delicate sound in the world. A secret shared between the book and your fingertips. You see the ink dark, rich, and shimmering slightly in the firelight. Written in a sweeping, elegant hand that seems to flow like water across the page. You don't read the words at first, instead choosing to let your eyes trace the patterns of the letters, the way the loops of the L's reach toward the top of the page and the tails of the G's dip gracefully below the line. It is a visual lullaby, a silent song of ink and thought. Outside, the storm is still raging, the distant, muffled roar that only serves to make the alcove feel more private, more sacred. A sudden gust of wind rattles the high-leaded glass windows far above in the dome. Clatter. Shake. But here, tucked away in the highest gallery, the air remains perfectly still. Not even the flame of your lantern flickers. You feel a deep sense of connection to the person who wrote these words. Someone who sat in a chair much like this one, perhaps by this very hearth, hundreds of years ago. Their thoughts are now your thoughts. Their silence is your silence. The library is no longer just a building made of stone and wood. It is a living bridge between the past and the present. A sanctuary where time has no power. You turn another page, and another, the rhythmic rustling of the parchment acting as a hypnotic pulse. Turn. Whisper. Rest. Your breathing begins to sync with the flickering of the fire. Slow, deep, and effortless. The warmth of the hearth has turned into a heavy, golden blanket that weighs down your limbs in the best possible way. You look at the silver inkwell again, noting how the light of the fire creates a tiny, dancing sun on its polished surface. Everything in this small space is perfect. Everything has a purpose. And for the first time in a very long time, you feel no need to be anywhere else. No one is looking for you. No one is calling your name. You are just a soul in a library, lost in the beauty of the midnight hour. You close the book for a moment, resting it on your lap. Your hands are still warm from the hearth, and you let them rest on the cool leather cover. You close your eyes, listening to the symphony of the night, the distant rain, the crackling wood, the faint ticking of a clock somewhere in the main hall below. Tick, tock, tick, tock. It is the sound of peace, a peace that is as old as the stones of the library itself. You feel yourself drifting, the edges of your consciousness beginning to soften and blur, like ink dipping into water. But you are not ready to sleep just yet. There is still more to see, more to hear. In the heart of the silence, the fire in the hearth has settled into a steady, hypnotic pulse of crimson and gold, sending a gentle warmth that wraps around your legs like a thick wool blanket. You sit perfectly still for a long moment, letting the silence of the gallery of lost scripts wash over you in waves. It is a peculiar kind of silence, not an empty one, but a silence that is heavy and full, as if the millions of words tucked into the surrounding shelves are all breathing in unison. You close your eyes, and suddenly, you become aware of the library's nocturnal symphony, the sounds that are hidden during the day by the bustle of the world. From far below in the main hall, you hear the rhythmic, ancient ticking of the grandfather clock. Tick, tock, tick, tock. The sound travels up the spiral staircase, muffled and softened by the heavy velvet curtains and the density of the books, until it reaches your ears like a slow, steady heartbeat. It is a comforting sound, a reminder that in this sanctuary, time doesn't rush, it simply flows. And you have all the time in the world to simply exist. You hear the faint, musical chime as the clock marks the quarter hour. A single silver note that vibrates through the still air and then slowly fades into the shadows. There are other sounds too. The subtle, organic groans of the building itself. The massive oak beams in the ceiling adjust to the cooling night air with a slow, stretching sound. Boreac. The stone walls seem to hum as the wind brushes against their exterior. A low-frequency vibration that you feel in your chest more than you hear with your ears. And then, there is the sound of the books. Every now and then, a dry, crisp snap echoes through the gallery, the sound of an ancient spine settling or parchment page shifting ever so slightly in its binding. It is as if the library is whispering to itself, sharing secrets that only the night is allowed to hear. You feel a slight dryness in your throat, a craving for something warm and soothing. You notice a small, antique copper kettle sitting on a wrought iron trident near the edge of the hearth. It was already filled with water, as if the library itself knew what you would need before you even realized it. You lean forward, your movements slow and deliberate, and move the kettle directly over the glowing embers. The metal makes a soft, scraping sound against the stone. Scratch! Within minutes, the water begins to sing, a low, bubbling murmur that gradually rises into a soft, steady hiss. You reach for a small porcelain tin on the side table, its surface painted with delicate blue willow patterns. You lift the lid. Tink! And the scent of the tea leaves hits you, a deep, earthy aroma of dried chamomile, lavender, and a hint of honeyed clover. You scoop a handful of the dried flowers into a silver mesh strainer, knowing the way they rustle like autumn leaves in your palm. You pour the hot water over them, watching as the steam rises in elegant, swirling ribbons that catch the amber light of the fire. The scent of the tea begins to mingle with the smell of the cedar wood and the old leather, creating a fragrance so relaxing it feels as though your mind is being gently untangled. You wrap your hands around the warm ceramic mug, the heat seeping into your fingers and radiating through your palms. You take a slow, cautious sip. The liquid is hot and floral, washing over your tongue and spreading a glow of warmth down your throat and into your chest. lean back into the emerald velvet of your chair, the mug held close to your face so that the steam dampens your skin. Outside, a sudden burst of rain lashes against the high windows. Patter, tatter, splash. The sound is frantic, chaotic, but it only makes the silence inside your alcove feel more profound, more absolute. You are safe, you are warm, and you are completely hidden from the world. You look at the lantern on the table. Its light is beginning to dim ever so slightly as the oil burns low. The shadows in the corners of the gallery seem to creep closer, soft and inviting. You don't feel the need to turn up the wick. The gloom is not scary. It is like a soft velvet curtain being drawn across the stage of the day. You watch the way the firelight plays across the spines of the books on the opposite shelf, the gold lettering appearing and disappearing as the flames dance. Illuminated, hidden, illuminated, hidden. It is hypnotic, pulling your gaze deeper into the flickering rhythm of the night. Your eyelids feel heavy now, weighted by the warmth of the tea and the steady, rhythmic ticking of the clock downstairs. The book on your lap is still there, its dark blue leather cool against your hands. But you find that you no longer need to read the words. The library is telling you its own story now, a story without words, told through the scent of wood smoke, the sound of the rain, and the deep, ancient peace of the stone walls. You take one last sip of your tea, feeling the warmth settle in your stomach, and you let your head rest back against the soft cushion of the chair. The world is far away, and the night is just beginning to hold you close. The tea in your mug has cooled to a pleasant, lukewarm temperature, and you take one final, slow sip, feeling the last traces of lavender and honey settle in your chest. You set the porcelain mug down on the low table with a soft, muffled think, the sound barely a ripple in the vast ocean of silence that surrounds you. The lantern on your right is now flickering with a tired, rhythmic pulse, its oil nearly exhausted. The golden circle of light it casts has shrunk, drawing the shadows of the high gallery closer to your feet. These shadows don't feel cold or empty. They feel like a soft, heavy velvet blanket being gently pulled over the world, piece by piece. Your eyes are half closed now, watching the fire in the hearth as it enters its final, most beautiful stage. The bright flames have disappeared, leaving behind a mountain of glowing, pulsating coals that breathe with a deep, ruby light. Every few seconds, a tiny blue flame licks the surface of a charred cedar log, a silent ghost of the fire that was. The heat is no longer a sharp force. It is a steady, radiating presence that weighs down your eyelids and softens your breathing. You feel as though you are melting into the emerald velvet of the armchair, your body becoming a part of the room, a part of the history of the library itself. The sounds of the building have become more intimate, more personal, far away. The rain has turned into a persistent, melodic mist, a sound so faint it is almost like the memory of water rather than the water itself. Shade, shade. It blends perfectly with the slow, heavy ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall below, which seems to have slowed its pace to match the rhythm of your own heart. Tick, pause, talk, pause. You find yourself counting the seconds in your mind, each one a step deeper into a calm, bottomless well of tranquility. You look at the dark blue book resting on your lap. The golden key on the cover catches the last dying glimmer of the lantern light, shimmering for a second before fading into the dark. You no longer feel the need to know what is written inside. You realize that the library is not just a place of stories. It is a place of rest, where the thoughts of the world come to be still. The air is so quiet that you can almost hear the dust motes dancing in the dark. A silent, microscopic ballet that has been going on for centuries. You feel a sense of profound weightlessness, as if the gravity of your daily life has been suspended by the ancient stone walls. The scent of the room has shifted again. The sharp cedar smoke has faded into a mellow, earthy sweetness, like the smell of a forest after a long autumn rain. It is a scent that speaks of roots, of stability, and of the deep, dark earth. You take a long, shaky breath, feeling your lungs expand and contract with a slowness that surprises you. Everything is slowing down. The fire, the clock, the rain. In your mind, especially your mind, the thoughts that were racing earlier, the worries of the morning and the plans for tomorrow, have all dissolved into the shadows, like ink washed away by a gentle stream. You feel the texture of the emerald velvet under your fingertips. It is cool and soft, a grounding sensation that keeps you tethered to this moment of peace. The lantern gives one final, brave sputter, and then the flame vanishes, leaving only a thin, silver wisp of smoke that smells of warm oil and wick. The room is now lit only by the dull, crimson glow of the embers. The darkness is not empty, it is rich, deep, and protective. You are invisible now, a shadow among shadows, a dreamer among the stories. You let your head tilt back against the cushion, your neck relaxing completely. You can feel the vibration of the library's heartbeat in the stones behind you. A low, steady thrum that acts as a physical lullaby. The edges of the shelves, the outlines of the books, the curve of the staircase, they all begin to blur and merge into a single, dark, and beautiful whole. You are at the threshold now. The door to sleep is standing slightly ajar, and you are ready to walk through it. The ticking of the clock feels further away now, as if it is echoing from a different world entirely. You feel a deep, heavy warmth in your limbs, a pleasant ache that tells you your body is ready to surrender. You give a small, unconscious sigh, a sound of total and absolute contentment. The library holds you in its ancient arms, guarding your stillness. And as the last of the cedar embers turns to gray ash, you find yourself floating on a sea of soft, velvet silence, ready for the final descent into the dark. The last ember in the stone hearth gives a tiny, final spark, a golden heartbeat that pulses once before fading into a soft, velvet gray. The room is now swallowed by a darkness that is not empty, but rich and heavy, like the depths of a still, midnight lake. You are sitting in the heart of the gallery of lost scripts, yet you can no longer see the shelves, the books, or even the emerald velvet of your chair. You can only feel them, a physical presence of history and silence that wraps around you like a protective cocoon. The weight of your body has become a distant thought, a pleasant, sinking sensation that pulls you deeper and deeper into the cushions. The sound of the rain has completely transformed. It is no longer a storm, but a rhythmic, liquid lullaby that seems to hum through the very stones of the library. Drip, drop, shit. It is the sound of the earth being washed clean. A sound that tells you there is nothing left to do, nowhere left to go. The grandfather clock in the distant hall below strikes the hour of midnight. But the chimes are so muffled, so soft. They sound like they are coming from a dream you made years ago. 12 slow, deliberate notes that dissolve into the stillness like smoke into the air. 1, 2, 3, until time itself seems to stop its clockwork dance and simply stand still. You feel a profound sense of safety in this invisibility. In the dark, you are no longer a person with a name, with worries, or with a past. You are just a breath, a heartbeat, a part of the library's eternal silence. The dry, sweet scent of the old paper is still there, but it has become faint, a ghostly perfume that lingers on the edge of your senses. You can feel the coolness of the air on your forehead, while the rest of your body is bathed in the lingering, deep-seated warmth of the cedar fire. It is the perfect balance, a harmony of shadow and heat that tells your mind it is finally time to let go. Your thoughts are like falling leaves now, drifting slowly through the dark spaces of the gallery, turning over and over before settling quietly on the floor of your subconscious. You are no longer thinking. You are simply witnessing the piece. The dark blue book is still resting on your lap, but its weight is no longer a burden. It feels like a grounding stone, keeping you anchored in this sanctuary while your spirit begins to float. You feel your chin dip slightly toward your chest, your neck muscles finally surrendering their last bit of tension. Release. Exhale. Sink. The silence is absolute now. The building has finished its nightly groaning. The rain has become a whisper, and the fire is silent ash. You are surrounded by millions of unspoken words, millions of dreams captured in ink and leather, and they are all watching over you. You feel a wave of gratitude wash over you, a soft, warm tide of thankfulness for this moment of absolute, unwavering stillness. The darkness is no longer something you are looking into. It is something you have become, a velvet sea of peace that has no ending, no beginning. Your eyelids are too heavy to lift, even if you wanted to. Your hands are still and soft, resting like fallen petals on the book. The rhythm of your breathing is so slow, so shallow, it is almost imperceptible, like a single candle flame being gently blown out by a cool breeze. Your consciousness begins to flicker and fade. You are stepping through the final door, leaving the world of light and sound behind, and entering the vast, beautiful kingdom of deep, dreamless sleep. The library remains. The stones remain. The stories remain. And you are now one of them. Safe, hidden, and perfectly, beautifully still. Good night. Good night. Good night.